Hi, welcome to ACS Composite. My name is Joseph, and today we're talking about splitters for our C7 Corvette. If you own a Stingray, Grand Sport, or Z06, you've probably wanted to upgrade to a front splitter. Front splitters are located in the front of the car under the front bumper. If you own a Grand Sport Z06 and you have a level 1, which was most of the production cars, your car may have a textured black level 1 splitter. This is usually the first item C7 guys want to upgrade. We have various solutions, various options when it comes to that, most popular being our Z06 splitter. When buying that part, you always had different options, most importantly being the Undertray Z06 splitter. That splitter was really destined for track-going guys. Aerodynamically, it was the ultimate. It generated the most downforce, but it had to be constructed in an RTM fiberglass material. The flaw of that, if you chipped it, it was white, and if you hit something, it would crack. Later on, we developed our Z06 splitter, which was in PC Composite. This was our ultimate material, extremely durable, rigid, will not vibrate at any speed. So if you nicked it, it was black, and if you scraped it, it would not break. It would actually wear out. So today, we'll be introducing also our Undertray for this system. So a new modular design where you could upgrade that Z06 splitter and get the benefits of both worlds. A complete Undertray for the aero benefits and the material to give you the ultimate durability on it. So we'll walk over, we'll look at all this gear, and we'll show you how to put it on your car. So this is our 1906 with a level 1 splitter. We'll notice it's a textured black finish, and it's manufactured in a rubber material. What we usually see over time is these start flexing right here. It is a decent looking part for the price. This runs for a couple $100. It is also offered in carbon flash, but the most popular upgrade is going to be a stage 2 Z06 splitter. And this is our Z06 splitter. This particular part will fit all Stingrays, Grand Sport, and Z06s. They're basically a pure interchange, simply because all these cars do share the same bumper, so the mounting system is all the same. What we'll be showing you is how to uninstall this, which is held on with about the 15 or 20 screws and 10 rivets. The rivets is usually the hard part for first-time installers. So we'll give you a few tips on how to do that. And finally, we'll complete the upgrade with a stage 2 winglet on the side, and I'll show you the stage 3 just to get a comparison. And finally, the Undertray system for our Z06 splitter. This has a series of brackets which mount to the car. So these are, again, manufactured in a PC Composite material. It doesn't require any modifications, and it fits to all the Z06 splitters we've ever sold. So if you have our Z06 splitter, you could definitely consider this upgrade, or you buy it with the splitter. At that point, we'll ship it all in one box for you. This is bolted onto the car. There's no modifications, there's no brackets to glue, there's no extra drilling. It's actually using all the same mounting points as the splitter. And then finally, we have our Undertray panel. So this is the same design that we always had on the Aero Optimal Undertray Z06 splitter, except it's become modular. And what's really great, this one gets mounted using this bracket with a double series of screws. It tucks under the splitter, so we do get the skidability as you enter driveways or run into obstacles at the track. So it's got a really great durability aspect. We have our enhanced brake cooling ducts, and obviously our fins to give it more rigidity, and again, extra mounting points. So we really over-designed it, over-engineered it to make it as strong and as aero-beneficial as possible. And then finally, which is probably my favorite part, we've added serviceable skid plates. These are made out of a very strong plastic, and basically these are your first line of defense when it comes to scrapes. These get installed at the bottom portion of the Undertray. There's 5 of them. We give you an extra one in case you break one or wear it out, and these are held on with rivets. This is what's going to basically extend the life of this Undertray. This is going to be your first point when you approach a steep driveway, where it's just going to skid and glide over it. So they're basically pressure points. These can be changed over time. So in the package, you will have an extra one. Generally, the center one is the one you wear out, but if you need more, you reach out to us and we'll definitely be able to help you with that. So let's go through with the install. This is our Undertray system for the C7. Let's familiarize ourselves with all the components. We have our center mounting bracket, which basically is labeled center. We have a driver's side mounting bracket, and obviously a passenger side mounting mat bracket, our Undertray system, and all the hardware. This is a U-nut, rivet, and our skid plates. Our first step is to prep our hardware, so once we're in the medium of installation, everything is ready for us. So the first thing I do is I take our mounting bracket And this one you have to be careful the way you mount the U-nuts to it. These are mechanical fasteners where a screw will be put through the under tray into these threaded U-nuts. So they're really great because it's a hard mounting point, but also serviceable. So you could take out the screws if ever you have to service the car. And what's important is the orientation. This is the bottom of the bracket, and this little portion has to be flat. So you don't want to get this wrong, otherwise you'll be dismantling it all. So basically the flat portion, the U-nut, flat with it. You want to slide it in and make sure it's clipped on. So we'll do this for all the edge holes. See, I almost got it wrong there. So once I turn the part upside down, all my U-nuts are basically flush, so I'll be able to come back with my under tray. These are the common points that are holding our splitter to the car. We'll do the same for the two side pieces. Our next step is now the prepping of the under tray with our skid plates. And these are held on with rivets that go through. And the way a rivet works is we use a rivet gun. We have manual ones, we have electric ones. You insert the mandrel into your rivet gun, and when you collapse it, it actually squeezes itself and makes a mechanical fastener between the part and the panel. So there's two variations. We have our standard skid plate, and for the ends, we have shorties. So these are for the side. There's a recess in the under tray, so pretty obvious to do. And as you set these, you want to position them. They are pre-drilled, but sometimes it's a good idea to just ream them. Install your rivet. We have a total of 5. I could see this one just needed to be cleaned up. Take a look at the other side of our panel so we get a better understanding of the rivet. And it's basically encapsulating it, giving us a rigid mount. Our next step is to move over to the car, and we'll show you how to uninstall a stage 1 splitter. We're under the C7 and we're about to prep the car to install our new Z06 splitter. Obviously, the first step is to remove what's there, assuming there is one. So obviously, if you have a Stingray, chances are you don't have a splitter. If you have a Grand Sport or a Z06, all those cars from the factory, or the dealer I should say, were rolled out with a stage 1 splitter. This is held on with 12 7mm screws on the rear edge and 10 aluminum split rivets located on the front edge, 5 per side. The way to remove these, there's only one way, and that's to break them off or disintegrate them. To do that, you'll be using a drill. Now, if you have access, a normal standard drill is ideal. If you're on the ground, I'd probably opt for like an angle drill, just so that you get enough room and leverage to push it through. What I do, I use a 3/16 drill bit. I set my drill to medium, and I basically center on the rivet itself. There's like a centering hole on it where the mandrel was. Apply pressure, and then go for it. Tip, always put your drill in forward. And there we have it. It's been disintegrated. And move on to the next one. See, in this case, the rivet itself was spinning. I angled it just so that the tip of the bit grips on it. Next are the 7mm screws. You'll be saving these since we're using them to install the new one. I left one center screw just so it wouldn't fall off, and my fender extensions are holding the edges of it. Slide it forward and off it comes. Our next step is to remove the shavings. So we could actually flex up the under tray, creep in, and actually get all the shavings out. Clean the surface, because you can. Now, if this is your first splitter swap, there's no issue. This particular car has probably had 6 or 7 splitters over the years, so my holes are now oversized. So what I'll be doing is actually offsetting and just drilling fresh new holes, since I don't want to go in the back and start putting backing plates. So basically, the splitter itself does have all pre-drilled holes matching the OEM one. So again, if you're removing a true production stage 1 splitter that's never been removed, there's no issues. Our split rivets will actually have a 1/2 inch flange. In my case, since I've done it 4 or 5 or if not more times, I'll be just drilling fresh holes right next to it. And that will secure my leading edge of my splitter. I'm now installing my Z06 splitter. Did not put any winglets on it since I'll be doing the under tray. So if this was already in the car and you're buying our under tray, you'll be removing the winglets. It's just 2 T30 screws with a flange nut, depending on the styles. And the installation at this point is fairly simple. We have the ears or the end bolts that on a Grand Sport Z06 could go under the fender extensions. If you have a Stingray, you don't have the fender extension, you likely have the wheel deflectors, which I never put on this car. So those wheel deflectors are actually there for fuel efficiency. Since I'm doing an under tray, to me it's redundant, so I never installed them. And if you did, all you would do is remove that screw and keep the rest. The ear would go right under it. So it actually helps me to install it and hold it. And I'll be centering the middle. The edge of the splitter matches the bumper, so that's my visual as I'm working under the car. I'm setting one screw in the center. At this point, I'm not tightening it, I'm just putting it to take the weight of the splitter. Putting 3 on. We're going to move up. Before we tighten or go on with more fasteners, I want to check to make sure it's centered and positioned in the right spot. The first thing I'm looking for is obviously the center line of the splitter. I want to make sure it's centered with the car. And most importantly, or the biggest difficulty I see sometimes with customer installs, is the edges. The bumper here moves, especially once you take out all the fasteners at the bottom. So what you want to do is make sure that the line on the splitter itself matches the bumpers. We see this way too often where this moved while you're doing other adjustments, and people will say the splitter cannot be centered. Basically, it's the front fascia. It's flexible. Once the 10 screws are gone from the bottom, all this can move around. I want to make sure I get a perfect fit, so I make sure this side matches it, and I'm doing the same on the other side. Now, for the sake of the video, I'm completing the install of a Z06 splitter. Knowing that I'm doing an undertray system, I would actually be able to now put the rivets and move on to the brackets, but we'll just go right through and do all the screwing. Now that I know that my splitter is correctly positioned and centered, I could start at one end and basically install all my 7mm screws. My next step is installing our aluminum split rivets. We're actually using a factory part, so it's the exact same item we disintegrated earlier. The way a rivet gun works is we put the rivet inside, the mandrel inside the rivet gun, center it onto the hole, and crimp while applying pressure. So these are aluminum, they're soft. It usually takes 3 or 4. Finally, it disintegrates, and I'm left over with the mandrel, which I dispose. I'll continue with my battery-powered one, just because it's easier and I'm lazy. And there we have it. The splitter's been officially installed. Now, if I wasn't doing the undertray, I'd be installing my winglets. So we'll take the opportunity to see what the options are. Most popular is a stage 2 winglets. This is it. It goes right here. And this is what GM would have called a level 2. It gets held on with this mounting bracket on the back side. We supply the correct carbon flash bolts. They're M6. And basically it's as simple as that. Our next option is a level 3. And the only difference between the 2 and a 3 is the deflector. So the main body of the splitter, it's the same. Meaning if you bought a stage 2 and you want to upgrade to a 3, all you have to do is buy this deflector, which is available, and this is it. So these are sometimes called canard. We call them stage 3 deflectors, and these do generate the most downforce. So you see how it generates the drag and traps the air, transfers it down, bring the nose down. And this is held on with the 3 T15 screws inside, and the same mounting bolt for the bottom with the bracket. So pretty easy install. In our case now, I'll be doing this at the end because my undertray actually gets mounted using the same mounting point, so no point undoing it. I'm now at a crossroad. If you already have a splitter on your car, this is where you'll start for the installation of your undertray. All you'll have to do is remove your stage 2 or 3 deflectors. If you're doing a complete install, basically we'll be removing some of the screws we did. We were just trying to be thorough on that splitter portion. So depending on what options you're choosing, just a splitter or just a splitter and the undertray, or upgrading just the undertray, this is where you got that little decision of which fasteners to take out and how many. In this case here, I'm basically assuming the splitter is fully installed, and I'm moving on to the brackets, which is really the novelty of the undertray system. This is what sets our product apart. If you're familiar with a level 2 OEM splitter, it had aluminum mounting brackets, all meticulously glued on the inside surface. That was a mounting surface for the undertray, which was very flimsy. So one of the flaws we had found over time is that interaction in this area would cause a splitter to break, because basically you would trip, especially when you would back out of a driveway or hit something, you would usually end up tearing the splitter. What we've done, we've designed a bracket that basically will support the splitter. So if we look, once I position it, the leading edge of it is actually supporting that, giving this that much more strength. And that's the key of this part. And it's also serving as a mounting surface for that long undertray. You'll notice there's 2 U-nuts about 6 inches apart. And this was done to help with the scraping forces. So as you scrape up and down a driveway, those skid plats are basically your pressure points, are creating a force this way or this way. We want to have that leverage, and that's why all this was done this way. Finally, our mounting points are the same splitter points. So the 7mm screws are being reused going forward to the mounting system of the bumper. And this is how basically all this is being held on. And finally, our 4 10mm bolts in the rear are what are going to secure the rear edge of it. So we'll move on. At this point, because the splitter is held on with 10 rivets, it's been properly positioned, I'm going to go ahead and remove those 7mm screws and save them. And the first part we'll be installing is the center mounting bracket. So if you're doing just the undertray install, this would be a great opportunity to clean this whole area. We're covering up the leading edge of the splitter all the way to the 10mm bolts. The first bracket to install is the center one, really important because there's an interlocking feature at the sides of it. Pretty obvious, it self-locates. We have that front flange which rest is inside the splitter. Once I have it positioned, I double check that my holes are centered. Grab a screw, my fastener, so the first screw is just to hold it on. I could put the 4 center screws. The 2 side ones are basically a shared mounting point with the side brackets. Next is the side mounting bracket. I'm going with the driver's side. They are marked, so it could be a little confusing, but driver's side, the writing points to sky when you put it onto the car. This one will interact with the center bracket, so we'll notice the recess. Again, common mounting hole and the rest of the splitter screws that we removed. And once I put it in, pretty obvious, everything interlocks. And I could put on a screw just to hold it into position. And it's fastened. You do have to apply some pressure. We're adding a 3mm part thickness, especially the common mounting point here. But once the U-nut is engaged, you're fully threaded on. On to the passenger side. So this one here wasn't fully or correctly positioned. More likely the U-nut inside moved. So the same fasteners we're using could actually move inside the bumper. So what I did is I just slightly loosened up the other 2 just so that it could move. I'm using a small pick to recenter my U-nut. So let's see if I lucked out, and I got it. All my 7mm screws are on. I'm going to start at one end and just thoroughly tighten each one. Perfect. I have a 10mm socket. I'll be removing the 4 10mm bolts that basically end the OEM under panel. Obviously, I'm retaining these. Depending on the aero that your car was built with, you may have different baffles under the car. Earlier I mentioned the wheel deflectors here. I never put those on. Some cars will have a deflector in the center. Needless to say, that needs to be removed. I'm finally ready to install my undertray panel. My undertray actually wraps underneath my splitter right where the bucket is. So it's actually a bit of an intricate install sequence. Help here is really great. I'm gonna cheat, so what I'm gonna do is set some tape on the sides of the splitter itself, which are gonna help me hold that under tray when I go for my 10mm bolts in the rear. I have my under tray panel, a 10mm bolt in my hand. Tape is there temporarily. As I move to the back, I'm looking for my 10mm threaded inserts in the car chassis. Put my first one. I like to hand start these to avoid any cross threading. I'm taking a look to see that my holes are all matching. They are floating U-nuts. I could still move them around with a small pick, but the whole perimeter and the edges of the under tray are the right spot. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten my 10s. I've changed my driver to a T15, and we supply you T15 SEM screws, so they have an integrated washer. I'll set a couple through in the front. I'm moving left to right just to make sure that I'm correctly positioned as I verify. So now I have a screw at about every foot. I'm going to start in the middle and just alternate in a zigzag pattern. I've installed 20 screws onto my mounting bracket. I also have 2 in my under tray fins, which are offset from the center, 1, 2. I see this one, the U-nut, is actually off-centered, so I'm using a pick or a small nail to help me center it. Perfect, so all my T15s are installed. Once I'm done, I like to start at one end and just retorque them all to make sure I didn't miss any. My next step is to install my stage 2 winglet. These are side specific. We'll notice the bevel matches the splitter itself. And basically what's important here is to install our mounting bracket behind the under tray and the splitter itself. Just starting the fasteners since I have to line everything up. Once my threads are engaged, I could position it and tighten it. Torque it down, and I'm done. And there we have it. This completes the installation of our Z06 splitter along with the optional undertray. So if you're looking for the aero benefits of an undertray or the protection, this is definitely a product to consider. And of course, as always, subscribe. There's lots of new products coming out for the C7, so stay tuned.